Welcome to the Coach's Table podcast, where coaches come to grow personally and professionally through real-world application and online education. What is going on, everybody? Wow, so happy and excited to be back after the 4th. It's such an amazing holiday. It's such an amazing time to be with friends and family, see the fireworks. There's so much that's I was saying with the 4th of July, I just absolutely love it, man. There's something about it that brings people together, some hot dogs, maybe some cold ones, just a lot of fun and the ability just to hang out. And when I get back from a holiday break, I feel so refreshed. I feel so good. I feel like, okay, cool. Like I got 3 days, 4 days to do whatever I wanted to. So I hope everybody feels that way as well. Today's episode, couldn't be more excited to talk today because we have a lot of similarities with the guest that I'm going to introduce here in just a minute in regards of, previous backgrounds, histories, previous career fields as well. And so that's going to be really interesting to see how we both bring that into what we do today, the struggles that we're facing, but also how we implement some of those principles that we've learned as well. Guys, before we get started, though, we are growing rapidly, which is outstanding. People are noticing, which is fantastic. Do me a huge favor. Share the show. If you're listening, share the show. We operate purely on value exchange. So if you get something from the episode, if you get entertained, if you get educated, or if you find any sort of laughter in this, do me a huge favor, share the show. Okay, that's the only way we grow. We're on Spotify. It takes you 10 seconds to share the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, because we drop the full episodes on YouTube, do me a huge favor, hit the subscribe button and share the show. That's the only way the show grows. We're doing really good things. And I want to thank you for doing that, but it's every single episode. That's the big part. So do me a huge favor, share the show. Without further ado, somebody I'm very excited to talk about. We've had several conversations, both off air and then prior to this as well. And Mr. Brandon Buskey, man, what's going on? This episode is sponsored by TeamBuildr. TeamBuildr is the #1 performance platform for strength coaches around the world. Their software provides coaches with an elevated experience when it comes to program development, data tracking, and staying connected with athletes and clients. Coaches also have access to consultations with TeamBuildr's in-house sports scientists to help them manage and analyze data. Head to teambuildr.com and sign up with promo code TABLE to start your 30-day free trial. That's TeamBuildr, TeamBuildr.com with promo code TABLE to start your free 30-day trial.
Nothing much, man. I really appreciate you just reaching out and asking me to join you for this talk. Just like I said, I met you on IG.
Yeah.
And I like some of the stuff that you was doing, and I think I seen you as a veteran in your bio, and I just reached out and said, "What's up?"
Yeah. It's crazy how it's amazing how people can get connected, in this world today where it's like we have 1-2 similarities. I'm like, man, I like what he's doing, or he likes what I'm doing. Let's just say, hey, what's up, and see where it goes. You know what I'm saying? It's like they say, hey, what's up? I like what you got going on. I respect what you're doing. Oh, you're a vet too. Cool. Let's talk about that. There's so many different variables, but similarities at the same time. I think that's really cool, man. And I appreciate, you reaching out too. And when I see people doing good stuff, I always want to let them know, hey, man, I think what you're doing is legit, because there's so many times that you're like, man, am I doing this? Like, is this good? Is this bad? Like, everybody goes through that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I likewise, I like with the stuff that you was doing, the stuff that you was posting, the stuff from the podcast. Mm-hmm. I didn't reach out to be on the podcast. I just reached out to say what's up. Yeah. I do that to a lot of people. But I saw you as a veteran, and I was like, hey, man, I got to reach out and see what he got going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause like we've been talking for like 6 months too. You know what I'm saying? Like we for real been going like back and forth for like 6 months, man. Prior to even like hopping on anything, it's just been here or there, which is great because it's, that's when it's like, hey, I'm not just trying to get something from somebody, or I'm just not trying to do this or whatever. And I think that's awesome because there's a lot of people out there, unfortunately, that are like, yo, I see this. Hey, can I come on? It's just like, I don't know, maybe like, I don't know.
I didn't even know you had the podcast.
Yeah.
I think one of your posts had went crazy when you when you was at West Point. One of your posts that did very well, and I saw it, and somebody shared it, and I saw it, and I clicked on it, and I just seen your bio, and I hit you right then.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
Yep, 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 yep.
So, man, let's talk about your time in the Army, because there's a lot of similarities that the Army provides with coaching, with
Yep.
sports, if you will. And I've been on a couple others where I've kind of drawn the similarities. I utilize like a commander and first sergeant, a platoon leader, and a platoon sergeant in regards of like head coach, strength coach, or in regards of like, admin as well. Like there's all these different things, and I'm like structurally,
Yep.
it's pretty similar, right?
It is. It is. It is.
But if I talk in terms of like PL or platoon leader, platoon sergeant, like nobody else understands it, and so I find it funny, but I'm like, yeah, like structurally, it's kind of the same concept. So, how did you get into the Army? Why did you join the Army? And then kind of tell people a little bit like what you did, how long you were in, and then what made you get out too. I'm always interested in like why people got out.
That's a long question, but I do my best to try to answer it. Why did I get in? My whole family was in the Army. My dad, my brother, my stepbrother, myself. It was just a way of life. That's how my pops raised me. I was making corners on my bed when I was a little. And so it was just my upbringing. I think I spent 1.5 years at Auburn. I was there on an academic scholarship, and I meant to go there to be a walk-on the track team, but things didn't really work out. School wasn't going well, and I was about to have my first child with my wife, and so I was like, "Hey, I gotta make something happen." And so, just to support my family, I just enlisted. I didn't even think nothing of it. I just went down to the recruiting station and just left. And my daughter was born as I was getting ready to go to AIT. So I had just completed basic training. So in transition from basic training to AIT, I went home real quick to see my first daughter being born. So the same amount of years I've been in the Army is the same age as my daughter. So I've been in 14 years. I'm still in the Army Reserve. I've been in 14 years, and she's 14 years old. So that's how
our stories are so similar. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I come from a military family. I think I'm the 6th consecutive generation, very similar to you, where it's like grandpa and grandpa and great grandpa and great grandma, and then it's like my dad, my uncles, like everybody. It was just a way of life, man. And it's not that I was forced. Actually, like I wasn't at all. What kind of occurred to me was like, okay, you want to go to college, you've got a football scholarship, doesn't pay for everything. How else are you paying for school? And I'm like, what do you mean? My parents, I love them. We had some family situations come up with my brother, had some medical stuff, and like, we don't have any money for you for school. And I'm like, okay, okay. So, and then my dad's like, hey, this is an option. You can go this route. They pay for school. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want any school debt. And that's literally like, so similar thing. I enlisted, went to basic training, I didn't have a kid, but pretty close. I mean, same thing. I've been in for 12 years though. So, you have 14, I'm at 12. I'm in reserves now. Like, man, crazy, huh?
Yeah. It's same. I wasn't forced. I was just trying to provide for my family. Had a child on the way. I think what did it for me was seeing the ultrasound bill from the hospital. I don't think people understand how expensive that stuff is. And so I seen the bill, and I told my pops about it, and he was like, hey, you better get a job. And so I just left. I didn't even think anything about it. But like I said, spent time I worked on the medical side with my time in the military. First duty station in the D.C. area, Fort Belvoir Community Hospital. Did some time at Walter Reed. Did funeral detail at Fort Meade and in Arlington.
Yep.
As soon as I got there, I was placed on funeral detail in Arlington. So that's just very humbling. Very humbling experience. Also, too, working in the hospital, working with the wounded warriors, the wounded soldiers that just came out of theater. They would get flown from theater to Germany, from Germany to I think Fort Dover, and then they would come straight to us. And I had many conversations with them. I used to sit with them in the cafeteria and just talk. In the Wounded Warrior Project, they would bring their families up there to DC to live with them. And so, I've had, from presidents playing golf to going to the Washington Redskins games, being part of that. I enjoyed my time. At my first duty station, and after that, I went to Alaska. And Alaska was very interesting, but that's when I came back to athletics. I started coaching high school football.
Okay.
I started coaching anything, track, basketball.
Yeah.
But I had an experience at West Valley High School. It's in Fairbanks, Alaska. I was stationed at Fort Wainwright.
Yep.
And all you got to do is just drive out the base and go straight, and you'll run right into the high school.
Yeah,
and,
you can't miss it.
Yeah, you can't miss it. And so I just kind of, I coached football as a position coach, DB coach. And one summer that I was there from 2013 to 2016. One summer I was there, the head coach was like, hey, I'm not going to be here this summer. I need somebody to train the guys in the weight room. I didn't know what I was doing. He threw me the keys, and I did whatever I could in the weight room to I just did something. And I had so much fun. And I remember going back home to my wife after that summer. I was like, hey, I want to do this all the time. And And so I looked it up on the internet, strength and conditioning coach. It talked about getting a degree and doing it full time. And that's when I left active duty in 2016 to pursue being a full-time strength coach. And that led me back to Auburn to finish my degree.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, first of all, Alaska. Okay, so first of all, you can't beat the TRICARE benefits. You can't beat those. Man, I tell you what, for those of y'all listening, look, here's the deal. If you don't know what TRICARE benefits are, you're missing. You're missing.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
They are.
They're truly amazing, man. Like, you can't beat that. I don't care who you are.
We can't.
Especially for the price. Like, it's whew, man, it's nice.
I currently still have my family on there. Like, I told you, in the reserve, so I still have TRICARE Reserve Select. So it saved me in my intern years.
Tremendously.
Yeah, so it saved me. Not having a full-time job, not having benefits, and so being in the reserves, still staying under TRICARE, kind of gave me time to really become a coach.
Yeah, it's so when and maybe you had this too. When I left active duty, I was at a crossroads of like, do I stay or do I leave completely? Like, no National Guard, no nothing, or do I stay in the National Guard because like, man, I still got these benefits, I got the GI Bill still, like all this stuff, and like I couldn't say no to the benefits. I was like, man, the insurances are unbelievable. I'm gonna go be a grad student, intern, living with my aunt and uncle. Like, maybe if something happens, it's also a couple $100 a month, like, for drill and stuff. And so I was like, I bet. And I was like at that 9-ish year mark or so. And I'm like, oh, you're halfway. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're there and you're like, man, everything's downhill from here. So, but I'll continue to be in, obviously. So how do you balance like your drill stuff with athletics? Because we all know athletics is a very demanding career field. The military is demanding to an extent, but they're pretty flexible for the most part. But here's the deal: when you have drill, you have drill. When you have AT, you have AT. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't get to be like, I'm going to be here from 9 to 1 and I'm going to dip out. And it's like, no. How do you balance that?
It's actually it's a great question. Um, I I was extremely blessed when I was at Auburn, like just kind of getting my degree and stuff. I had an amazing unit down at Fort Benning. I drilled at
Mm.
Fort Benning, so
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Auburn to Fort Benning is about 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an amazing first sergeant, sergeant first class Wyatt, and she told me, "Hey, just do what you got to do." And she allowed me to RST and make drills up, and
Mm.
I just she just gave me that flexibility because I told her what my goals were,
Yeah,
and so she
yeah,
was like, "Hey, go do you." And just recently, when I got the job here at Middle Tennessee, I went to my new unit, which is in Nashville,
yep,
and I talked to them, and I was like, "Hey, I work at MTSU." You know, what I mean, I'm just very honest and open about when I could be available, when I wasn't, and
yeah,
my first sergeant and my commander, they was like, "Hey, do what you got to do. We just need this right here." And so I just do this right here
yeah,
and make sure that they're happy, make sure that my medical and all the other stuff is up to date. And
yeah,
they give me that freedom. It would be all you gotta do is ask. Communication is
yeah.
always gonna be the best. Uh, I'm actually about to leave for AT next week. So
Oof.
like we're in week 5 of training, and I'm about to
Yeah.
leave for AT. But the strength and conditioning staff here, led by Coach Higman,
Mm-hmm.
they I communicate to them, and
Yeah.
they're gonna hold it down until I get back. I would rather leave over the summer than in the fall when I have other sports to attend to as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just communicate. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
I just they know my commitment. They know that I'm doing double duty right now,
Yeah.
and so I think everybody I've communicated with have been okay with it, and they have been very supportive. So, if
Yeah.
anybody, if any young coaches out there that may be listening, like you got to do what you got to do to support yourself, but you don't have to give up on your dream of becoming a strength coach and helping young people, in athletics.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a huge point, man. Two huge points there is like if you communicate with people well, nine
Mhm.
times out of 10, they're willing to work with you,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Hey, here's what I have going on. Here's my schedule. I have this commitment, this obligation. It does X, Y, and Z for me. Well, are you willing to work with me? Yes, cool, great, thanks. And then the component of whatever it is you want to achieve, you can do it, and not to give up on it. I think that's a big thing. You can still do athletics and military stuff. You
Yeah.
can still do athletics and have a business on the side, right?
Mhm. You can. Yeah.
Does that mean you're going to be able to go home at 4 and do nothing for the rest of the night? Of course not, right? But the point that is being made is like you can do both.
Yep. You can.
Don't allow one to deter from the other, but if you communicate and you manage your time appropriately, then you know what, you can do that. Like I have AT coming up here at the end of the month, August, really, and so I'm like, I'm gonna be out of commission for 2 weeks. Like,
Yeah.
sucks. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but it's also one of those things throughout the hiring process that, hey, is this going to be an issue? I want to let you know, I can get a drill schedule and all this other stuff, right? And
Yeah.
I've found I've had a lot of support in athletics for that as well. Nobody's really been like, no, don't do that. It's always been like, yep, for sure, gotcha. So that's been
Yeah.
really
Also,
nice.
also too though, like the way like the cost of living and things now, like
Mm,
kind of just tough to have one main source of income. And so there been
yeah,
many times where I was like, I probably should get out. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But like every time that like my daughter and them can go to the doctor and they get everything taken care of. If something happens to me, they're taken care of. And then like they're just I spent 9 years of active duty. I don't want to go to waste. And so
yes,
at the end of the day, like no, we shouldn't be punished for serving the
yeah,
country.
mm, mm,
And 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 also trying to serve student athletes at the same time. And so
yeah,
I don't know, man. I just embraced it. Nobody has really given me any major issues with it, but
yeah.
it's kind of hard to make it with just one source of income now.
That's so true. That's so true, bro. That's spot on. It's yeah, man. It's tough. It's tough when you're looking how much you make, and then you're seeing like what the military can provide you with. From a reduced standpoint, from insurances and benefits, and their retirement stuff, and you're like, okay, cool, bet this is legit, like very, 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 very affordable for great benefits. Oh, and you're gonna pay me on top of it. Okay, cool. So I know I gotta, depends on how long you've been in your rank and all that stuff, but you can make a good penny for doing 2 days worth of work, right? Like you can make a good amount, and you're like, okay, cool. This is like, why would I give that up? Like that could be a rent payment. That could be, you know what I'm saying? You're like, why would I give that up? And then just go and now have more expenses and less money. Like that doesn't make any sense, But so what principles have you taken that the military's taught you, provided you, that you've learned, and that you now utilize with your student athletes?
That's one of those topics that if you serve, you understand about the Army values and like the warrior ethos and things that we have to recite and memorize. But I always say that like a lot of people when they join, if they don't have a value system, like the Army kind of gives them one. And also too, one of my drills was I spent time supporting drill sergeants, so I was able to work at a reception unit and see trainees come off the bus, and they're not very far off from soldiers in basic training, and trainees are not far off from the student athletes that we serve. And so one of the biggest things that I kind of harp on that the military kind of really drove into me is routine, and also creating habits that lead to a better lifestyle and also better results. And what I mean is, everybody kind of know we wake up early. We do our work. We get a lot done before a lot of people even wake up. So also too, we have a scheduled routine. We go to eat at the same time. We have our 3 meals at the same time. We have not PE, PT at the same time. We have first formation, final formation at the same time. And so that's what I try to provide for my student athletes is I try to give them, hey, they know I'm going to be there at 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever that may be. And they know what to expect. And also, you know what I mean? Give them the ability to know that I'm there to support them. Sometimes like when there's a yo-yo effect in training, also a yo-yo effect in my mood or my personality. And sometimes, we work in athletics, things change. And so I'm trying to be the most consistent I can be so that I can provide consistency to them so that they can be successful. And a lot of them probably come from backgrounds where there's no consistency. And so that's what I'm trying to provide. And I'm trying to give them a routine. And so like usually if we try to lock in a routine for the summer or the fall, even during the season, I'm trying to do those. I'm trying to hit those timelines. I'm trying to do these things so they know and they get used to when to eat, what we're going to do before the lift, what we're going to do after the lift, what we're going to do before practice, what we're going to do after practice. And so I think I've been successful doing that in my first year here at Middle Tennessee. But consistency, routine, also too having a true common goal and a camaraderie amongst each other. Like it's easy for us because we fight a known threat. Whoever threats our Constitution, whoever threats our country, those are the ones that we're going to defend the Constitution. And so at the end of the day, we don't have that same enemy in a sense on the athletic side. But I think the biggest thing that I try to get these young men to understand is like, if you lean on each other when hard times come, you'll have somebody to lean on. And so at the end of the day, like it's not easy to make young people work together. But I try to find the similarities among all of them and try to band them together and try to make them stronger together. And so I'm always trying to preach to them, like, hey, did you check on so and so? Did you hit him up yesterday? Did you give him a ride? Did you ask him, did he need a ride? Did you just buy yourself something to eat? Did you ask him, your teammates, did they want something to eat? But I'm trying to get them to think more than just themselves. And so that was the reality check that I had when I was in basic training was they made me a platoon leader, and I had to worry about everybody.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to worry about everybody, but I had to worry.
Yeah.
And so that's what I really do to the young men and the young women that I work with is like think more than yourself. And so I have that same mindset of just trying to set a structure up with them is like, hey, like check on people. And also too, like, hey, if you come to the gym, bring somebody with you. And next time bring 3 people. Next time bring 4 people. Next thing you know, we have a group of people there working towards the same goal. So, you know, I use so many things, but routine and camaraderie and working towards a common goal, I think those are probably be the top 3 that I use, that I pull from the military, from my Army experience to kind of help these student athletes now. Because, you know, right now we live in a time where, you know, everybody's selfish. Everybody's selfish. Everybody want theirs, but nobody don't want to give. Nobody don't want to help somebody out in a time of need. And so I just try to reverse that. You know, in my training time, I try to get people to think outside of the box more than just them.
That is, if you're listening or watching, go back and listen to the last couple of minutes that he just talked about. Because in a world of athletics where it is a me style, and I'm not saying this is every team because I think a lot of teams do a great job of, you know, we over me. I think a lot of teams do a great job of, you know, addressing and creating awareness around, hey, you might be one guy that's really good and that's amazing, but it takes 5 to play this game. It takes 11 to play this game. It takes 9 to play this game. It takes 6 to play this game. And so even though you individually might be great, that's fantastic, right? But, you know, kind of a common thing, but like you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so, you know, if you aren't bringing a friend, if you aren't checking on them, if you're not ensuring that they ate, if you're not, hey, let's go grab a bite to eat together, you know, that's great that you're the only person that's really skilled or whatever and cool. But like, are you winning the game yourself? You know, if you played 1v5, are you going to win? If you played 1v11, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I think that point is massive because I agree with you. And I've admitted it before and I'll admit it again. When I was like a legit platoon leader, like I failed tremendously in terms of like from a leadership standpoint because I just wanted to be liked, you know? I wanted to be liked. And I was like, oh, does Sergeant so-and-so like me? You know? Like, and rather than being a leader, like I don't really care what Sergeant so-and-so has to say.
Yep.
I don't care that he likes me. Here's what I care about: the mission, the goal, the end result, you know, whatever. And I've really taken that into my athletics career. Like, I don't particularly care if you like me. Right. Yeah. Like, the end goal is the end goal. You know, we are a results based and results driven
we are.
Career field. Either you get results or you go home. Like, that's it. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, you know?
No, you're
correct. Really interesting. Go ahead.
No, you're correct. It's, you know, the more and more I work with the student athletes, I see some beautiful things that they are able to do. And I see some things that can be troubling, can lead to some caution. And I think one of them is like handling conflict. So just like you said, like sometimes they beat their chest, like if they're the only one in the gym, and that's great. But I always tell them like at the end of the day, like you have to pull people with you. And some people don't want to go. But I remember last year I used to tell one of our leaders, I was like, hey, knock on his door every day. He might not come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but he might come Saturday. And at the end of the day, like that level of them being rejected, dealing with conflict, holding each other accountable, that comes from a will towards trying to focus on one thing, one goal, and not caring if their teammate liked them or if someone doesn't agree with their approach, but I'm telling you, over time, they will really appreciate you checking on them and trying to hold them accountable
Yeah.
and get them to do more or get them to do less. Whatever it could be, it could go both ways. But the more and more I kind of work with this, um, these student athletes now, I kind of see that like they like doing stuff alone, and doing stuff alone is not the way.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. You know, like you can only get so far by yourself.
Mhm.
You know, it takes a team. It takes a village, if you will, right?
Mhm.
To create the things that maybe they want to create, to have the success that they want to have. You know, and doing it alone is cool. And like, I get that you want your indie work, and I have no issue with that. But, comma, you can't do it alone. You know, like there's that difference of like, hey, I want to work by myself today, and like,
Yeah.
I only work by myself. You know, like you can't do it alone. You know,
Yeah.
the thing that I use, you know, in our space is like, look at MJ. Like he had no issue beefing with guys at practice. He had no issue beefing because he was bringing everybody up, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, you know, it's like I'm huge on accountability too. It's like, you know, if I see a player lacking or not trying hard, I'm gonna look at the other guys and be like, why aren't you holding him accountable?
Mhm.
I don't have to play games. I don't play games.
Yeah.
I'm not the one out there. I don't make shots. I don't make passes. You
Yep.
know, I will hold him accountable. I have no issue with that. I will do that. But peer leadership is the hardest leadership, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, if you can start to learn this, why don't you hold him accountable? Why don't you say something?
Yeah.
And then I feel like you can start to develop a little bit. No different than like an NCO holding an NCO accountable or,
Yeah.
you know, whatever the case may be, right? It's, man, it's always so interesting. The peer leadership thing is always so difficult.
But that's where I get my leadership from. My time as a non-commissioned officer. Like, I was a non-commissioned. I mean, I was a sergeant pretty quickly in my military career,
Mm.
and so like I led soldiers that were probably older than me at the time. And I know you probably had something similar when you was a platoon leader.
Yeah. Oh,
And so
for sure.
that's not easy to do. But one thing that I do believe that I try to help these student athletes with is like you have to run towards the discomfort of um, having conflict with people. Conflict is actually good, but like a lot of people will tell you now, like if you listen to social media now, like they said, conflict is not good. Just let people be great. Let people live. Let people do whatever they want to do. And that's not the way. That is not the way. That is not the way. Like real leadership says, hey, there's something more in you and you're going to do it. And I'm going to be right there with you. And so my time as a non-commissioned officer, I got in trouble a lot for things
Yeah.
the things my soldiers did. And I was
Yeah.
kind of fearful of saying something because they were older than me. They've been in the Army longer than me.
Mm.
And so the same struggles that my athletes have, I've had it too. But just like you said, you kind of mature into laying like, hey, man, we got to get a job done.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter what you think about me. So, you know, it's, you know, leadership is, you know, you know, there's so many books about it, but it can be just as simple as you you walking the walk and then you bringing other people with you.
Mhm. Yeah. It's a never ending skill set.
It
right?
is. It is. It is. It is.
Every day is different. Every team, year, individual, population.
Yep.
You know, you think you got it figured out, right? And then somebody else comes in or there's a different variable and you're like, holy cow, this is totally different now, you know? But it's amazing. And that's what's fun about it, right? And that's what's fun about it. So speaking basketball wise, man, to turn the tables, if you will, what does it look like for y'all right now? I mean, I know you said that you're getting ready to take an overseas trip. How was the first summer training for y'all?
This is year 2 for me.
Yeah.
So like, I year 2, I've always had, I guess, what you call success. So I probably had, not success, but like I have like better results in year 2. Year 1, I was scrambling. I was just trying to do the best I could. But year 2, I have young men. Had 8 returners. And
That's
so I have
huge.
young men that know me. They know how I operate. They know what the standards are. They can help me coach the new people that have entered our program. So that, I'm telling you, that's a huge blessing. Also, too, after the conference tournament, we spent like 2.5 weeks off, and then we went right back to work. And so that time
Sure.
was very valuable to set us up for the summer. So we got a lot of movement in, we got a lot of volume in,
Yeah.
and like I think it set us up for the summer. Like there wasn't a huge "I'm sore." It wasn't a huge response to the adaptation of the training that we were doing in the summer, because we set ourselves up for success in the spring. And so right now, like the first phase in June was great. We started that first week in June. We just completed week 4 last week, and I mean, I like where we are at. You never know where you're at for real until you play basketball again.
Yeah.
But they have attacked the things that I've thrown at them. Also, too, playing in the mid-major level, like I just think you have to be so robust in your training, and you have to train them for the unpredictable, travel changes, hotel changes, food if it's good or bad. And so, like at the end of the day, I always talk to them about plans change, and we're gonna be resilient for whatever is thrown our way. And so I've enjoyed the first phase of training, and as we go into the next phase next week, we just had a break. We were just off for the first week in July, and we'll start week 5 up on Monday. And also, too, we have the foreign tour coming up. We're going to Italy mid-August, so we'll start official practice actually on July 31st. And the NCAA gives us 15 practices to get ready for that.
Yep.
And so that's what July will be about. I'm trying to get them ready for practice, change of direction, playing defense, and just dealing with the up and down, the workload of basketball, getting up and down that court. So that's my job.
So do y'all have skills right now or practice too, or is it just primarily training?
Just skill development.
Sure.
Our staff here, they really believe in that. And, if we can improve your skill set, like, it don't matter what offense you got.
Sure.
You'll be able to execute. And so right now, I think I'm not sure, but in July we'll ramp it up. We'll start doing a little bit more, but right now it's just skill development. This is my time. This is my time. And also too, man, you can't. It's something to say about being year 2 with a head coach too.
I was just going to ask that. I was about to ask you that. Yeah.
Because year 1 is all about filling each other out. Like, do we like this, like that? Like, it's just, I'm always on edge. But now, like, also too, he allowed me to be my head coach, Coach McDevitt. He's allowed me to be part of the recruiting process. So I had an active hand in talking to the young men that we brought into the program, talking to them about what our expectations are, what we do here. So him giving me more responsibility, helping him lay that foundation, and also too, like, be part of the process of recruiting. And so I feel like he trusts me. I feel like I'm gaining his trust each and every day, gaining the trust of the staff. And also too, just, how it is, like, developing a relationship with them. It's more than just the X and O's portion, but, just seeing him with his kids, seeing all the coach staff with their kids, and just understanding that who they are as men and who they are as fathers. I think that's a big key too. And they can see me do that as well, because my daughter's up here, working on her game as well. She plays JV basketball. So, it's just different, man. It's different. Year 2 is different, as I just continue to try to build with the staff and try to get us to hold that trophy up, Conference USA trophy.
That's right. And so, a couple of things. Y'all had a good year last year. You women had a great year last year as well. which is awesome. They had a great year. I mean, you guys did too. Like, no, not taken from you guys. You guys had a great year as well. Women had a great year. I was just about to ask you, what are you looking for in year 2 compared to year 1? Whether it's with the coaching staff, whether it's with the athletes, because I feel like this is things that a lot of people experience, but nobody really communicates about or talks about, or they've been with a coach for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years now. And so it's just kind of like, hey, that's who Brandon is. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? But like that 2 to 3 gap, like people are like, oh crap, like first year is always exciting because it's a new guy on the block, new training athletes love you, you know, et cetera, right? But, you know, year 2, where it's like, okay, that kind of honeymoon phase has subdued, if you will.
Yes.
You know, what does that look like for y'all now? Like, how do you kind of evaluate that? How do you look at that?
Well, just from my experience of working with going through my years of interning and working under great strength coaches, I think the biggest respect is they just allow me to do my thing. They don't really question it. They just hey, the guys with Brandon, the guys with Coach B, and they just let me do my thing. They allow me to have a seat at the table as far as decision making. To a certain extent, you know what I mean? I'm not a basketball coach, but they asked me for my opinion. They allow me to voice concerns when it comes to, maybe some player load or like some rehab, or maybe we need to get some more food for this or whatever like that. But my head coach has I feel like he respects me, and I feel like he has given me the freedom to be myself. I don't got to be anybody other than myself. And also too, man, like he just gives me space to train him. He doesn't come back behind me and double tap as far as like enforcing things. I stand on my own authority. I don't have to run to the head coach to do anything. Guys late, guys doing this. That's all on me. And I take pride in that. I try to think about myself just like I'm an assistant coach on the staff. And so they allow me to have my own authority. And that's part of leadership too. Like, you have to be able to do it. Yeah. And you're correct. And they have empowered me to do me. And I'm telling you, like, I respect him for that. And I'm thankful for being part of the staff and them just letting me do me.
Yeah. I think it couldn't have been said any better than that. No, and I mean that in all honesty. And here's why, though, because when you're year 1 somewhere, like you said, you're earning that trust every day. You're earning the, hey, I want to let you know I'm locked down. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? My stuff is tight. I run a tight ship, right? Because year 1, you're proving that always, right? Yeah. You're always proving that. Your off season, what are we gonna do? Are we training them hard? Are they tired? Are they sore? In season, are they ready? You know what I'm saying? Like you go through that season, that year, that, hey man, I'm pretty freaking good. I can get better and I will, but I'm pretty good. And then, to your point, like the second year of like, he lets me do what I need to do. I run things how they need to be run from my department. I'm a part of the recruiting process. I do all these other things, which is amazing because let's be honest, the athletes spend a lot more time with us, more times than not. Right. And so it's like, hey, that's an integral part, right? Yeah. And do you get a good feel for the guy? Coach, do you like the guy? Maybe not, right? Like, not that you're telling them, make an offer or not, but you're, hey, you know what? He's a good dude, seems real solid, parents are legit, I feel good with him. Or it's like, I don't know, coach, like, he didn't look me in the eye. He didn't shake my hand like a man. Like, all that small stuff, we're always thinking about that, And it's going into the decision-making process or the recommendation process and saying, hey, man, coach, I think he's legit. And, he trusts your word, And I think there's what you said, I think is amazing that a lot of people struggle with understanding. When you provide individuals autonomy to do their thing, they respect you so much more for that,
Absolutely.
right? Rather than like micromanaging and thumb on you always, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I respect him because he allows me to do what I need to do. You know, and if I have something that he needs to know, I'll let him know. Until then, we'll keep this train moving. You know, I think that's a huge part. I think a lot of people struggle with that because you always feel like, to a certain extent, like I can't have any holes in my boat. You know.
Yeah, and trust me, I do. Like, you know, as I evaluated my program from year 1 to year 2, like what are the things I can tighten up on? And like, trust me, it was not perfect at all. You know what I mean? I changed my mind on so much stuff. Like, the program was written in pencil. It was not written in pen. Just understanding the space that I had, but there were things that I need to work on too as a coach. And so they allowed me to make some mistakes. On a couple of mistakes, I acknowledged that I made some mistakes. And at the end, but I just feel like I'm different. Like I just choose not to live in fear of losing my job. I choose not to do that. Like, I know I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm serving the student athletes, and you know, if I make a mistake, I own up to it, and I keep it moving. But I don't know, man. I just move a little bit different, but that's also the Army in me too. Like, when you're in charge of the morale and welfare of soldiers, like, it just, like, you're gonna make mistakes, man, but you just got to keep pressing forward. And so I made mistakes last year. Me and my head coach talked about it, and I'm on the road of improving those things and getting even better year 2.
How do you? Because this is a point that I think a lot of people struggle with at times. And I have my thought process, but because I think you said it, but how do you get to the point where, because in this world, right, we all are on eggshells to an extent, right? Of losing a job, staff gets removed, whatever. How do you get to that point where you're like, you know what? I don't even worry about that. I don't even care. You know, if it happens, it happens. Obviously, we don't want it to, of course, but I'm not coming into work every day with that at the forefront of my mind. I think there's a lot of coaches that may have that at their forefront of their mind. How do you get to that point where you're just like, I'm going to do my job at the best I can, you know?
How do you get to that point? I have like my experiences personally, and also too my experiences in the military. I feel so prepared for the current time and space that I'm in, physically, mentally, spiritually, like all of it. Like, I feel prepared, and so even if I do make missteps, I just, you know, and being in a results oriented profession, I think that I'm always constantly seeking improvement, and so if I fall short and if I'm not doing a good job, like, you know, I would expect my head coach or administration to go in the other direction. But I know when I lay my head down every night, I'm doing everything that I can to improve the student athletes here at Middle Tennessee. So, and if I, you know, get removed because of that, then I'm at peace with that, because I know I'm doing everything I can behind the scenes. And that's the same thing we tell our student athletes. If you work as hard as you can and you put yourself in position and the ball don't roll your way, like, you know, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And I'm pretty sure with the amount of good that I'm doing, like, I'll land on my feet. So like, I just choose, I don't know, man, like, when I left the Army, I was kind of fearful. But now, like, the current headspace that I'm in now is just like, I just choose not to live that way. Like, I've made a choice every day that I wake up to be grateful and to, you know, just be the best I can be. And if I fall short, I fall short. I just don't, you know, and they say, you know, they say we will get fired in this profession. They say that, you know, good things won't always happen in this profession. But when they do, I know I've done enough good that I'll be okay.
That's a huge point, man. I really do. I also think, and you said it earlier, I think when you do the right things consistently and you attempt to do the right things consistently, you shouldn't have to worry about, am I going to have a job? You shouldn't have to worry about going into work being like, is today the day? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when you go into work and you're like, I put my best effort forward. I, go above and beyond, etc. I train my athletes really well. I get better. Here's my personal professional development, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think people see that. I really do. I think people see that. I think they see the effort. I think they see the consistency. I think they see this person's trying to do what's right. He's trying to not only watch out for the people around him, the athletes that he trains, the coaches, the university, himself, etc. And I think so many people see that. You know what I'm saying? Where you don't have to worry about because I feel like when you do, not you personally, but in general, when it does come a time to get the boot, if it's because of a lack of performance, you kind of already know that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if I'm not performing, and you're like, hey man, you're not performing, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, I'm not performing. Like what? That doesn't make any sense,
Yeah. I don't know, man. But like every day I wake up, man, like I'm really driven by trying to be the best that I can be. I'm not in a competition with you or any other strength coach in the country. I understand that, like, they're like the scoreboard sometimes doesn't indicate, how good I am either, or how not good I am. It goes both ways, but like, I don't know, man, like I've done so many things that I didn't want to do in my life. And like, I actually like strength and conditioning. So, I just kind of get up and like, I'm just in that headspace. Like, man, I really get to do this. And so I fought to do this. You know what I mean? I went against the grain to do this. Like I was E6. I was E6 staff sergeant in the Army, and I could have stayed on that track, and I would probably have been E7, E8 by now. But I really did a pivot to come do this, and so that means I really want to do this, and I really get excited to do this. And I don't know, man. Like I just like it, man. I don't know, man. I'm driven internally from within to serve the student athletes, to see them succeed. And I don't know, man. I just don't really think about the other stuff.
Yeah, I think that's huge too. I really do. I think there's so many coaches that probably have that going on in their head, And I agree with you. I think if you're 10 toes down where you're at and doing everything that you can on a daily basis, you know what? Hey, man, you got to strike while the iron's hot, and that's important. I also think there's another piece to you that is, maybe to an extent taboo to talk about in athletics, but I think it should be talked about more. And that's your faith. And I think, so I'm very curious how you integrate that and how much of a role that plays for you, where you're currently at, whether it's headspace, security, or where you just know, you know what, hey, there's something much greater than me that is going to ensure that I'm good.
It just, that kind of goes back to my upbringing. My grandmother, my father, my mother, like, we just kind of, laid a foundation to me when I was younger, that, God was the center of our life. And, I remember praying in the morning with my father and my mother. And I remember my grandmother dragging me to church over the summer. And I was back there asleep. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, over the years, as I was transitioning out of the military, like I kind of went through this identity crisis, going back to school, being close to 30 years old, going back to school, kind of like understanding, like, did I make a mistake? What am I doing? I'm behind the power curve. I don't have a house. I got 2 kids. You know what I mean? I'm a failure. I'm so far behind. And I had so many things running through my head. And I just had to kind of like slow down and just get back to the basics of reading the word and praying and meditating and getting back centered. And I feel like it helped me so much in my journey. It kind of reduced my anxiety. It kind of made me anticipate more. Like right now, the version I am now, yeah, I'm not who I was like 5, 6, 7 years ago, or not even when I was on active duty. Like when I was on active duty, I was pretty angry all the time.
Like all people on active duty are. Let's be real. Let's
Yeah,
be
you're right.
real. Yeah,
You're right.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
always on edge. I was always
yeah,
on edge. I'm not. I'm not that
yeah,
person anymore. And that's
yeah.
just because of my constant. I think the I think the biggest thing that I had to discover was spending time with God in the morning, and that kind of set my day up. Commanding the day. You know what I mean? And
Mm,
so that's what I call it. Just trying to get in command of my day before my day get hectic. And so I spend some
yeah,
time with God. I read the Word. Then I go to the track and work out. If you ever see me at the track, that's my time with God.
yeah.
And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just talking to Him. I'm praying. I'm reading, listening, whatever I can do to make that connection. And so, like when I first got here to Middle Tennessee, just like I said, like I had to find my own authority, and I couldn't come in here just telling guys, this is what I need from you, blah blah blah. I kind of just talked to them, and we just talked, and as they talked, I kind of just started like just nudging them here or there, nothing crazy, just nudging them here and there, and then we'll have more talks, and I'll nudge them a little bit more, and then it'll get to the point where we might attend like a FCA event, you know what I
Mm,
mean, on campus,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then we'll attend an FC event, and then I'll tell some other people to join, and other people to join, and currently right now, we openly have a team Bible study. We do it on Wednesdays. Um, so we do the FCA event on Mondays, but we have just for basketball, we do an event, and we just talk about anything, any topic that's on the table. And we do that on Wednesdays. And also too, majority of the team go to church with me. And it's not one of those things where I set out
yeah,
for that. I just knew
yeah.
that at the end of the day, I couldn't help them alone. I couldn't
Mm,
be that one person to help them. And so I wanted them to find Christ for themselves. And so I said, hey, man, you just join me. And remember, I told you, bring
yep,
somebody, bring somebody,
yep.
bring somebody.
Bring a friend. Bring a
Yeah.
friend. That's it.
And so that's all I did. And now, majority of the team come to church, but like it was just always a nudge. It was nothing real. It was never a push. It was just a nudge
Sure.
to get guys to think, you know what I mean, about who they are,
Mm,
and who they belong to, and just have a deeper meaning, a deeper connection in what they can see, just the physical. You know how it is. We train so much physically,
yeah.
and I
Mm,
think some strength coaches do a real good job mentally. But I think there's a spiritual piece that we should fill that bucket up too. And so
yeah.
that's just what I do. That's my thing. But that goes back to my foundation, my father, my grandmother, my mother, and me just taking that and using it with my personal experience and now passing it on to my athletes.
I think that's outstanding. I really do. How much do you think that's impacted positively your relationship with them?
Um, well, a couple of them have told me already, but I think it makes it not dependent on performance. Results oriented. And so since we're results oriented, sometimes we can, hey, this guy not doing what I want. Like he here late, he come late, he don't drink the protein shake, he don't do all the reps, he get on my nerves. Get this guy out of here. And at the end of the day, I don't really coach from that standpoint. I coach from the standpoint that at the end, like you might not be doing what you're supposed to right now, but eventually you're gonna listen. And
Mm,
and even if it's not with me, maybe he might transfer to your school and you might get him.
sure,
You know what I mean?
sure.
But at the end of the day, I coach from. I don't let their performance dictate how I treat them, and
Mm,
so at the end of the day, I treat all of them. I treat them all the same, not fairly, but I treat them all the same. Um, but I try to take the performance away from it, and I try to keep who they are as a person at the front of my mind. And every day, I know that they're going through something. I'm going through something, so I try to check myself before I deal with them, and I just don't hold stuff over their head. You've been around coaches that hold stuff over your head. Hey, man, you was late on Monday, so I'm gonna treat you like crap all week.
yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
man. But also, too, though, man, like I've had experiences with soldiers that committed suicide. So like I'm coming at this from a whole different angle. Like and that's why I say like my military experience just kind of like has changed how I view young people. And so like I just don't come at it that aggressive. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I kind of walk down buy-in. So you know, Brett Bartholomew, he has a book. I can't remember the name, but I read it. But I don't really chase down buy-in in the first week or the second week or the third week or the fourth week. I don't really do it like that. I kind of walk it down over time, and over time I gain their respect because like I treat them the same, and sometimes they know they don't even deserve it. And so at the end of the day, it has impacted my relationship with a lot of the guys and the young women that I do work with on campus tremendously. But like all I'm trying to do is just be the light for them so that like when they deal with somebody, they can do the same way. Because like at the end of the day, we have to be the change. If we're not the change, if we spend so much time with them, if we're not the change, then how expect we expect them to change on the court or on the football field or you know what I mean? Like it doesn't happen like that. So I can't lead from the standpoint of the same way the head basketball coach lead. That's not my standpoint. But at the end of the day, it's affected our relationships. And, you know, I'm telling you, I get crazy buy-in just from walking it down. I don't chase it down. Like I hand them over my trust. And sometimes they look at me crazy, like, man, like, who are you? Like, why are you doing this? But at the end of the day, like they eventually come around. And some of the guys that I probably had year one that didn't truly believe or didn't truly think that I was genuine, I've walked them down by now. Because I was there when probably nobody else was there. And so I don't know, man. That's just also too some of the things I had to do as an NCO, some of the things I had to do as a father. And so I don't know, man. I try to be the best strength coach I can be, just because my daughter, you know what I mean, I would want her to have the best strength coach available. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, I treat them all like my children. I treat them all like my brothers and sisters. But that's just, you know, that's just my standpoint. But it's truly impact how I deal with them, how I interact with them, because I'm trying to pull them up. They got here, how they got here, and I'm just trying to pull them up. And I don't care if they transfer. You know what I mean? I don't know if you had that issue, but like, I don't, that stuff don't really affect me. I still treat them the same way.
Yeah. What you said there has so many parallels and it all intertwines, right? You know, it goes back to what you said earlier about, hey, when they come in, I want them to know how I'm going to be, how I'm going to respond, how I'm going to, you know, talk to them, how I'm going to, you know, bring them up. And I think one of the things I've been hearing a lot of, and somebody told me this the other day, and I thought it was so profound. You know, we talk a lot about discipline and consistency, right? And I was like, yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of people talk about that. Most successful people in the world, best athletes in the world, etc. And he's like, I agree. He goes, but flip it the other way. I said, yeah, what's that? He goes, consistent discipline. Now I was like, that hits different. You know, that just hits different. But it's the same thing. You know, consistent discipline in regards of how are you going to be that day? How are you going to talk to them that day? How are you going to treat them that day? You know, regardless of if you're about what we got here or not, you know. And it's funny because another person told me, you know, the relationships, they take time. They develop when they develop. Not everybody's going to buy into you day one, week one, month one, right? And I think that's something, if you're a new coach at a new place, and I'm saying this to myself as well, give it time. You know, like walk it down. I like that, like walk it down on them. Because if you are who you say you are, if you live what you preach, if you are consistently that, they too will see it. They too will be like, all right, Brandon's legit. Hey, he's earned my respect. And to your exact point too, you know, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And like you know, and your point of that is like, if I'm walking them down, what I'm doing is showing them how much I care. you know, continuously every single day.
Yeah.
Before, otherwise they're like, yeah, that's cool. You came from here, here, and here. Yeah, whatever. Right? Like they don't understand the gravity of that stuff, you know. But if you show them how much you care, hey, I'm here for you. I got you. Let's have a conversation. Let's sit down. Hey, put your arm around them, give them a hug, you know, whatever. They're like, okay, cool. You know, granted, Coach B is consistently doing this every day, you know, and I think that's really like that is stuff that now when you want to get advanced, now when you want to, you know, chew some ass or whatever the case may be, it's earned, it's respected rather than like coming in day one just hotter than hot, which is funny because it's the opposite in the military, right? Like from a militaristic standpoint, it's come in freaking hot, you know, let everybody know, hey, you're Captain so-and-so, you're Sergeant First Class so-and-so, you know, you can't F with me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But from an athletic standpoint, it's slightly different. Not that you can't take that approach because you can at times, and sometimes it's very needed.
Yes,
but more times than not, it's like you said, let's develop a relationship. Let's develop trust. Let's develop that. And that takes time. And that's where it's difficult, you know?
Yeah. Also, too, like we have to, even though college athletics tries to speed our timeline up, like we still have to find a way to think 1, 2, 3, 4 years down in advance. And that it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right at all. It's like, hey, get the results now. You know what I mean? They might leave and all this other stuff. But like I'm telling you, if you take your time, I'm gonna be honest with you, like you can retain a lot more than you think you can. If we go about it in a way of trying to, you know, feed the student athlete what they need. Because I think a lot of people are leading with money, and a lot of people are leading with power, and a lot of people are leading with ego. And I like, just like you said, like there will be real winners and losers. But I'm telling you, if you walk people down, I'm telling you, man, like if you can give these kids an experience that they can't forget, they'll stay and they'll buy in and they'll train hard. They really will.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you care for them, truly care for them, right? Then it makes their decision, if they get to that point, much harder.
Absolutely.
Because now they're like, how do I know that Coach so-and-so is going to care as much as Coach B? Like, how do I really know that? You know?
And also, too, though, I think we get so caught up in stuff that really don't have to do with us. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes we are focused on the wrong things. Even as coaches, we kind of are focused on things that we just can't control. Like, I'm going to coach whoever walk in the door.
Yeah. Yeah. You coming in here, hey, this is going to be the best hour of today. You know, I want to make this the best hour of the day. We're going to work really hard, but we're going to have a great time doing it too. You know, we're going to laugh. We're going to joke. We're going to do that as well. But we're going to have a great time. But we're going to get after it, you know?
Absolutely.
So, man, where can people find you at online?
I do a lot of my damage on Instagram. I do a lot of my damage on Instagram, Twitter. I don't know, man. They got this new thread thing going on. I might dabble in that a little bit, but
did you jump on it?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I've been liking LinkedIn too. LinkedIn has been interesting. I've been doing some articles and stuff like that. I like to write. I probably publish a book, you know what I mean, soon. But just Instagram and Twitter for right now. I plan on working on a website, so I can do like some speaking engagements, put some articles up and stuff like that. But you know how it is, you know, so much to do, so little time to get it done.
Trust me, I feel you.
I know. But yeah, man. Coach Buskey on Coach Buskey on Twitter, Coach Buskey on Instagram, and just Brandon Buskey on LinkedIn. That's where I do most of my damage at.
I got you, guys. If you're listening, go give him a follow. And follow him on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads.
There is.
Which is essentially another Twitter. It's like, I hopped on it. I'm not gonna lie, I did hop on it, and I'm like, I'm like, yo, this is Twitter.
Twitter.
This is literally Twitter, like everything's the same. You can quote, you can retweet, like this is Twitter. Like this is what this is. But
yeah.
It's all good. Hey man, no, I just want to say I appreciate you, your time, our connection, and this is just the beginning of us obviously continuing to talk. I love what you're doing. I love the way that you go about it. I think that's we talk about the process a lot, but I think the way you go about the process is really important too. And I just want to acknowledge you for that. Because I think there's times that people don't get acknowledged for that, and just want to let you know, man, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And fruits of your labor are coming,
Yeah. No, man, I appreciate you, man. Like, you're doing something that's not easy to do as far as working, a full-time job and being in the reserves as well. And you're giving a platform for people like myself, for people to, to know us, to see our face. But also too, man, it's great for you as well as you just continue to, try to push this profession forward, man. And like, that's all we're really trying to do. We're just trying to bring people up, and that's what you're doing. And I thank you for it. And just keep doing you, man. Keep doing you, man. You're doing well.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. I'm very fortunate to be able to, have people like yourself come on and get a little bit of their time, and that I'm thankful for, and learn. You were talking about, off air, we were talking about, HBCU stuff and how that's a little different stuff, and I'm learning the ropes, but it's just good. I think, the whole, like I said, before, and for those that are still listening, but the whole reason why I started this pod, is to, give people an opportunity. I think we have so much more in common than we do differences. And you can go on any social media platform and you can see all the differences that we have, whether it's Strength Coach Twitter and these fights and this, just constant bashing, negativity, et cetera. It's just like, I bet if you talk to them, you would be like, hey, we have a lot in common. We might have a couple of disagreements, and that's okay. But you know what? We have more in common than what we think. And I think that's the whole thing, right? It doesn't mean that the world needs to be sunshines and rainbows, because I don't believe that. But, I think we have a lot more in common than what it could be presented online. And just have a conversation with the guy. And then it's funny, it's even funnier. If I will. They call each other on the phone and then they tweet about it. They're like, just had a conversation with so-and-so and like, he's a really good dude and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, so why would you guys have a 24-hour back and forth and then hop on the phone? Like, what? It's so fun. I'm just like, do you realize how that makes you look right now?
Yeah. Also too, like, with that stuff, man, like, a lot of people, like that's why we just got to stop fighting against each other, because a lot of people ain't paying attention. You know what I mean? Like, we paying attention, but like, in the grand scheme of things, like,
nobody's paying attention.
No paying attention. No head coaches paying attention. No administrators paying attention. Like, just do your job.
Yeah, and it's really funny from that standpoint. But anyways, I find that funny. They like bash each other, and then, oh, I just had a call with so and so. It's just like, yeah, why didn't you just do that in the first place? Like, but just like if you have a problem at work, what do? Probably go to that person you have a problem with, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, I want to talk to you about X. Okay, cool. Whatever. But anyways, I digress. I'm off my soapbox. I just find it funny. So, but look, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me today. I look forward to continue our conversations and relationships. Playing against each other potentially, or seeing each other or close to, one of the case. But I love what you guys are doing there at Middle Tennessee. Not only yourself, but like the whole staff with, the other coaches there, Matt and Tessa. I think they're just doing fantastic stuff, and it's really great to see that. And just want to let you know, I see it, and I'm sure everybody else does see it as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey guys, if you're still listening, do us a huge favor, share the show. Okay. I'm sure you got a lot from this. If you didn't, you clearly weren't listening. So do us a huge favor, share the show. There's a lot of things that you can apply. Maybe you question, like, did I come in too hot? Am I coming in too hot? Do I need to develop better relationships with my athletes? Do I need a little bit more patience? There's a lot of things that might trigger thought process for you, which is great. Evaluate yourself, evaluate where you're at, your coaching staff, your resources, think outside the box. But that's the purpose of this, to get you thinking. So if that got you thinking, if this conversation did do me a huge solid, share the show, man. Share it with somebody like, hey, man, I know the spot that you're in, or hey, this is a good idea, or oh crap, last year when I was like X, So do us a huge favor, share the show. If you're on Spotify, if you're on YouTube, we would greatly appreciate it. And do us a huge favor, go follow Brandon, reach out to him, let him know what's up, let him know he did a great job. And guys, we'll catch y'all on the next one. And thanks for listening.